story is that her little daughter, her 10-year-old daughter, was murdered by this particular person. And like any parent, she was really crushed by that, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so she had a block there. So she locked everything in that room, but it was inside. And I said, look, I would like for you to get rid of all the furniture. She said, I couldn't do that. That's a memorial to my daughter. I said, no, I'd like you to do that. She says, well, I'll call my sister. It took about 3 weeks to get her to do this. She said, I'll call my sister, and I'll give them to my sister. I said, no, you can't do that, because every time you go over to your sister, guess what? You're going to see that, and the same pain is going to come back. We won't be able to clear the blockages and the emotional things that's going on. So one Saturday, we got the Salvation Army to come, and they took all of the furniture out of that room. She wept and carried on. Guess what? In 3 weeks, when she went back to see her oncologist, the tumor had shrank in the other breast. They were getting ready to remove the second one. The tumor had shrank. In about 8 weeks, it had disappeared. They couldn't find any cancer. Her cancer was related to what was going on emotionally with her. And a lot of us, men and women, your doctor can't figure out what's going on because it has nothing to do with your physical. See, one of the things that we do is that we are psycho-soma pneumatic. Mind, body, and spirit. And those three has to work together. If you take any one of those apart, the body is not whole. So you go to an allopathic physician. That's what I am at Staten Island Hospital, an allopathic physician. And all we do as an allopathic physician is deal with the body. How often have you gone to your doctor and he prayed with you? Or he asks you, what is going on emotionally with you? How's your spiritual life? In years gone by, the person that took care of you was also the spiritual man, and he was also the emotional person that did the healing and the physical. Today, we are separated. As a matter of fact, I'm a neurologist. If I was not a homeopathic person and you came to me for stomach ailment, I wouldn't know what to do because I am brain, nerves, spinal cord. I didn't study any of the other things until I went away to China and studied the whole body. What's the difference? So make sure that you are seeing sometimes 3 different people. You need to see a psychologist or a social worker or someone like that when you're going through your ailment, because it might be a psychological or emotional problem. All right? So here we are. Hope I didn't shake you up too much there. And so this book talks about the 4 phases of a woman's life and what she needs to do at each phase. The first phase, of course, is puberty. And that's when the body is doing the most changes from birth to puberty. And puberty lasts until maybe about 19, 20 actually. And then you enter what I call the superwoman stage. That's when the estrogen in your body is so high, you can do, you multitask. You do about 6 or 7 things at one time. You're cooking, you're holding the baby, you're washing, you're on the telephone at the same time. You're doing a lot. Give it to one of us brothers. We can only do one at a time. And that's a fact. So you can multitask at that time, because the estrogen in your body is so high that it's certain vitamins, certain amino acids, certain things that you need in your body. We men need that too. Different things, but you need that as a teenager, you're going through puberty. So when you get into the superwoman stage, when that estrogen again is high, the body, you're not just working on gas and the estrogen, but your body is working from a point of view of strength. Your body is working on the fuel from whether it's your plant-based stuff, whether it's vitamins, whether it's amino acids, whatever it is. Then the next stage, I call the watershed years. Brothers, you all know about that. When we go home, when they get to be about 35, 36, 40, and you go home, and she's sitting there, and she's crying, and you don't know why, she don't know why. The tears are coming, because the estrogen is weaning. It's getting less and less, the estrogen in her body. So she doesn't know what's going on. When she, at the superwoman stage, she had that hourglass shape. Now, at the watershed years, estrogen, and that estrogen has to be replaced by something. So guess what it's replaced by? Fatty tissues. And you can have all the liposuction in the world. It's going to come back because you need that fat tissues to drive you, to give you energy. And so she does that until she's about 45. Also, that's the time, a lot of times, the children are leaving home, and so she's there by herself. And sometimes she looks at the husband, and she says, well, who are you? Because all of my energy been to those kids. Now I'm with a stranger. She's reflecting back on her life, and she's looking there, and she's saying, did I make the right decision? Did I study the right thing in college? Has the things that I've done, the job that I've had, was it the right job? Did I choose the right husband? And she's reflecting back. Did I do this and do that? And that's a great opportunity for God to speak to you, because you're questioning the why for you being here on my planet. And we do sometimes. A lot of times they've gotten divorced at that age also, so they're alone, and so on. So you need certain things in the body. Just don't let it happen. And then victory happens. You have become a full-grown woman. It's called menopause. You have arrived. You don't have to worry about anything anymore. But if you didn't prepare the body, the mind, and the spirit, you're going to have trouble at that time. So you have to, at each stage, you have to prepare the body for the next stage. Okay?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You have done so well at describing the female.
How about the men?
Yeah, what about
I haven't read that book. I haven't written that book as yet. I am.
what do they go through?
Or they go through angioplasty, which is the opposite of menopause. And where we go through the same thing, you see the brother out there in the sports car. Or you see him with, all of a sudden, he starts wearing a ponytail. Or we start doing crazy things. You know, we want a younger woman. You know, we do a whole batch of crazy things. We don't speak about it. And guess what? You sisters, you go through therapy because you talk to your girlfriend about things of the heart. You know what we brothers talk about when we get together? The Knicks, the weather, baseball, those type of things, football, and so on. We never talk. As long as I've known Bishop McPherson, we don't talk about the things of the heart. Every once in a while, we would talk about something, but not really get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on in his life. I never said, Bishop, what's happening in your life really? You know, how are you doing really spiritually? You know, we don't talk about those type of things, but you talk about things, that is called therapy. And we need to do that more. It is strange that I do these conferences, and I would be with all of these men, especially when, we have big men's conferences and so on. And we talk about the growth of the church. We talk about the Lord. We talk about a lot of things, but we fail to talk about what's really going on with us. And guess what? Suicide today is greater amount of men, especially when we get past 55. It is great because we suffer in silence. And you don't know, and you want to help us, but we are not available to talk about the secret things that besets us. And we really need to. We really need to do that. You know? Really say, how are you doing, man? And be honest enough for us to sit down. And guess what? Brothers, when we share with you, it shouldn't go anyplace else. We can't trust each other, and that's one of the reasons we don't share. We don't share. And then there's a book that I wrote. This was my second book. It's called Food for Thought, 25 Ways to Protect Yourself from Disease and Promote Excellent Health. Principles I have lived with. And we need, you know, I'm going to go on with this workshop. Okay. All right. Clinic of Hope. All right. So I think the theme is stay the course. Do you know what the course is? Why are you here? Why are you visiting my planet? Just to exist? And during the time that you're here, what are you doing with it? What are you doing with your own life? Is tomorrow the same as today has been? And the next day? And the day after that? There is a famous gentleman by the name of Thomas Edison, and he said this: the doctors of the future will give no medication, but will be interested in his patients in the care of the human frame, diet, and the cause to prevent medicine. So in other words, we're going to be using the things that God put here for us. Because the vegetables and the different things that we cook with don't have nothing in them. Our soil in this country and Mexico and South America is 98% depleted of any minerals and vitamins. So I'm going to talk about toxic environment, a little bit about cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, hybrid food, and nightshade food, leaky gut syndrome, and the mucus-less diet, or mucus-less life. We live in a toxic world, but we don't have to live in a toxic body. Our bodies are protected by a thing called peroxisome. You ever heard that word? We sometimes call it like the immune system or something like that, but peroxisome is the number one thing that we have to keep healthy. These peroxisome burns, that word should be fats, and detoxifies the poison in our bodies. When these peroxisome are healthy and abundant, we stay slim and toxic free. We don't have pains. We don't get arthritis. We don't have heart disease and so on when they're healthy. But when they are damaged and decrease in number, fat and toxic matters in our body builds up. When these peroxisome protects the body, it keeps us healthy by detoxifying poisons. So it's constantly working and detoxifying the body. It keeps the fat cells down because the fat accumulates toxins. How many of you in here do what is called lymphatic drainage or skin brushing? It's very, very important. Here we got a couple of people that you do that about 3 or 4 times a week, if not every day. And that you get a brush similar to this. A natural bristle brush. You get in the nude and you brush from the toes up to the heart. Long stroke. Don't dig, just brush. Back and front. It gets the lymph system clear, so all of the poisons, so nothing builds up in the lymphatic system and so on. So you need to get something like this. I noticed in the Caribbean, they get the leaves from particular trees, and they heat them in water or over the fire, and they take it and they flag the body with that, gently. If a person is sick, and it heals the body, because it gets the lymph system moving. Everything comes out. Everything goes out the system. So we need to get into the habit of doing skin brushing. The health food store, Bed Bath & Beyond, and these type of things. Or you can get them on Amazon. It's called Natural Bristle Brush. You can use a loofah also. Or there are 3 ways. You can get a trampoline, the round trampoline, and you bounce on the trampoline. But you have to breathe and so on. You're not jumping, you're just bouncing because the trampoline itself never leaves the bottom of your feet. You can't do it. I can't do it here because I'm touching something solid. Swimming is another way of getting the lymphatic system going, by swimming. Deep tissue massage gets the lymphatic system going. And there's a one called Salt Glow. I wouldn't advise that because it russes the pipes in your house. Is that you get that rock salt the old salt that we used to use for the snow. And you get in the tub, in the shower, put on a cold water, then a blast of the hot, then a blast of the cold, and you get the salt and you rub it briskly over the body. And it gets this. And when you come out from that, you're so energetic and so on because the lymphatic system is moving. Very important. But this peroxisome has a weakness, an Achilles heel, if you will, that is called phthalates. Okay? What are phthalates? Phthalates are chemical substances added to plastic to increase their flexibility. Anybody has a plastic bottle, a water bottle? Can I see? May I? This is filled with phthalates. The flexibility here. Years ago, it wasn't flexible. Now, it's very flexible. And these have phthalates. And for the longevity of the bottle, they can reuse it and reuse it and reuse it. Leave it there for a little while. Phthalates gives us products like styrofoam cups, Ziploc bags, Tupperware containers, plastic food wraps, plastic line that lines milk and juice containers, plastic water bottles, soda bottles, and of course, blood transfusion bags. They noticed during the Korean War, when plastic first came out, before that they used to use the actual glass bottles, and the IV drip came out of that. During the Korean War, they noticed that the guys that were wounded, the soldiers that were wounded, were dying very fast. And they weren't dying from the actual wound, they were dying from the plastic in the bags that they were using. It just came out, the plastic had just came out, been invented, and they were using that because it's easy to transport and so on. So they were using that to heal the guys, to give the IV drips. And the guys were dying from the phthalates in the plastic. So when you buy your meats, you buy all these things, guess what's in it? It's a cruel irony that health conscious people who drink bottled water are actually taking in more toxins from the plastic bottles that they're using. So when you just got a lot of that in you, huh? Guess what? Even babies suck and drink from plastic bottles. We give them plastic teeth and rings and plastic pacifiers. Phthalates are found in our clothing, our toys, our cosmetics, perfume, nails, hairspray. It's all over the place. Look around you. Phthalates are everywhere. Phthalates are in all these products that I just named. Okay, they leak. You know, it'd be good if the phthalates would stay in this. And some of us have the nerve to put this in the freezer. Or we leave it in the car over the winter, and it freezes, and the water sucks all the phthalates into the water, and then we consume it. There is a God, because we lived through that, and we're drinking poisons. It gets into the system. It causes all kind of different things. Once they're in these phthalates are in the body, it causes havoc to our endocrine system. It causes birth defect, cancer, damage our mitochondria and the liposomes, and most relevant to this presentation, the peroxisomes, because that's the one that I'm really concerned of in here. And if we don't have that, we have no defense. Causes birth defect, again, cancer, all these things. Okay, look at here. Look at this. The plastic amalgam in the teeth, or the mercury in the teeth, and it gets into it poisons the system. In our telephone, it comes out, the smoke stocks. Look at this. We're breathing this. Mosquitoes are picking them up. Look at this. All of these are phthalates and aluminum. It's in the water that we drink. And don't think because it's better you drink the city gin, the city water, than to drink out of these plastic bottles. It's safer. These are good for the manufacturer who makes them. Look at this. Chemicals in our rivers. We used to be able to get fish. As a matter of fact, those of us from the Caribbean, and I put myself in there, my grandmother was, we used to get fish. You go to the Caribbean, you get fresh fish. No, they're filled with mercury. Unless you get the ones that were farm grown. And then they're fed with, I'm not even going to mention it. Look at this. Look what we give the young babies. The bottle. Now, look in the bottom of these bottles. Any plastic that you get, look at the bottom. You see that little triangle? It has a number. Avoid these recycle systems. They call 3, 6, 7, the most dangerous. If you look on the bottom of the bottle, you'll see that. The safer ones, still dangerous because still plastic, but the better ones, the safer ones is 1, 2, 4, and 5. Jot it down. Our waters are contaminated with that. Look, fluoride weakens our pineal glands here. You remember during the COVID, when you go anywhere, they would take your temperature? Where were they going at? Dangerous. I got kicked out of a church once because I went and I said, nope, right here. She says, And she wouldn't allow me to come in. And it's a better reading here than it is here. Plus, you keep pointing that thing to the pineal gland, guess what? It throws it off. Benzene. So many things has benzene in it. Arsenic causes cancer. Lead, mercury causes high blood pressure. Aluminum, another concern. It's now drinking water. Guess what? It's one of the staples in the church. Aluminum. Sunday afternoon, you see coming in with the aluminum trays. They're killing you. And we dig in and we start eating all that stuff. Aluminum is good. Again, for whom? Yeah, Reynolds Company. Make a lot of money from it. So all of this, it's there in factories. When the liquid is going by, it zaps anything that shouldn't be there, and it pulls it like a magnet into it. Guess what? When we take aluminum into our system, it sees the blood, the white blood cell. It thinks that the red blood cell and the white blood cells are invaders, so it zaps them. So we depleted, our system is depleted with these. Stop eating out those things. At home, what we do, we wrap the foil. We have put a liner in there. It's that wax paper, what is it called? Yeah, and then we put the aluminum around it. So the aluminum doesn't touch the food. Because aluminum is dangerous. And then the aluminum. It causes Alzheimer's, ADD, autism, perpetual neuropathy, anemia, blood clots, blood disorders, a whole batch of different things, Crohn's disease, and a lot of things that we are killing ourselves. And guess what? We're going to have to give account for this body of ours. Mercury, aluminum, arsenic, travels to the brain, penetrates the fats around the myelin, around the nerves and so on. It goes through the protective brain barrier and goes into the brain. Alzheimer's, we never used to hear of Alzheimer's when I was a kid because there was not a lot of this stuff around. What is this? It's the pot, non-stick. And guess what? This pot has been being used a lot. Yeah, the Teflon. And somebody ate all the scratches, the Teflon that is there. It came up on the fork, and guess where we put it? 70 years ago, Teflon came into existence. 70 years ago, Alzheimer's became rampant. This is something that one of my products, And my company is called East of Eden. And we took that down to St. Vincent, and there was a dirty river. And we put about, I think it was something like 20 gallons of this into the river. In 2 days, the water was purified. And so on. This is one of my products, the Perfect Food. And the detox is on the side, the body detox. This is my Perfect Food. It's a wonderful product. It gives you a lot of energy, and I live on this. I take that around 12 o'clock, and usually around 5, I would have my one meal. Look, we're filled with parasites. Most of us are like that. When people come to do colonics, you see a batch of these things floating by. You have tenants. You call parasites. Tell me when it's my time now. Okay. All right. Here are parasites. These are all different types of parasites. They're sucking your life. Yeah. And you don't see them because they're microscopic. That's from the diet. Any meat that you eat, those of you that are meat eaters, have parasites. Not only pork, any meat. And most of the meat that you eat are hybrids anyhow. They're hybrids, they're not real. So that chicken that you think you're eating tastes like chicken. Is it? Okay, cancer is a disease. Let's talk a little bit about cancer. Because it's rampant right now. Okay? Cancer is the disease of the mind, body, and spirit. The DNA, our diets, anger, and a lot of us are angry. A lot of us are angry. I passed up one this morning, because I was at the light, and the guy wouldn't move. And then after I blew my horn, he decided he's going to stay there. Yeah, and something inside of me said, go over there and tell them off. Open your door, go out. I said, no, I'm going to do a seminar today. So I had anger. How about our paradigm? The way we think and the things we think about causes cancer. Unforgiveness. If I could get half of the people around us to forgive somebody, we can clear up half the mental illness in this country. Unforgiveness, bitterness, and we just talked about the environment a few minutes ago. These items put the body into a stressful and acidic condition. Now, I have these little strips that I put in the person's mouth and see how acidic or alkaline their body is. If your body is alkaline, guess what? No disease lives. If it's acidic, all kinds. You could have 5 and 6 different diseases. You can have high blood pressure, diabetes, a whole batch of different things going on at the same time. If your body is acidic, because we eat so much acidic food. We have to read what's in these things. Truth is, every one of us have cancer cells in our bodies right now. Every one of us. The cancer cells do not show up until the body is under stressful conditions for some time. When the immune system is healthy and balanced, it destroys and prevents cells from multiplying and forming tumors. When a person has cancer, it is an indication that their body has multiple nutritional, physical, emotional, and sometimes spiritual deficiencies. Go ahead.
So when children have cancer as a child,
sometimes the kids are stressed out, and I just showed you. We give them those plastic things and everything like that. So, and a matter of fact, from the time you get pregnant and you go in to see your physician, they start giving you needles and a whole batch of different things and so on. That's why during COVID, all of my patients, I said, look, if you're going to get the shot, get the Johnson & Johnson. The RNA, leave them alone because it's going to come back to haunt you. And a lot of it is coming back to haunt people now with those shots they got. The Johnson & Johnson, it was safe. They couldn't make any money from them. If you have a dime on your arm, you know that little thing that you have on your arm, that little mark? That was a Johnson & Johnson. So it's been around a long time. But they couldn't make any money from it. And so they promoted these things that were selling like crazy. Or the RNAs, which is the Moderna. There were 11 of them out there, different names. Sputnik, RNA, the Pfizer, Moderna, the British had their own, the Chinese had their own. The worst one out there was the Russians because they didn't even do anything on it. Thousands and thousands of people in Russia died from that shot. And guess what? The world is overpopulated. They have to get rid of some of us. They don't have enough food. That's why they have hybrid food. They're putting two different things together and make one. It's called hybrid. So that potato that you eat is not really a potato. In my book, I talk about that. Let's talk about health. I talk about all the different things that are good to eat. Some are moderate and some are killing you. Because it's not about your health anymore. Nobody cares about you and me. It's about power. I'm not even sure it's about money anymore. They've got so much money. In this country of ours, we just keep printing money. It has no value behind it. Next year, you're going to pay for it. When we go off of the dollar system and everything become electronic, we're going to pay for all that money they keep all that money that's going to Ukraine. It's not really money. They just keep printing. No, years ago, we had on the dollar, it used to say silver certificate on the dollar, or gold certificate and so on. After 1968, it says federal note. And a note is an IOU. It has nothing to back it up. This is not a financial seminar, so let me go on. All this kind of stuff. Okay. Oh, no, it's that. Okay. Okay, here we are. Let me go back to cancer. I can't back up, huh? Okay. All right, okay. How do we treat cancer in this country of ours, around the world? By cutting? Okay, what's happening here? Okay. You know, we treat it by cutting, by poisoning the body with chemo, and so on. We don't treat the body, we try to treat the cancer. And so what happens to us is chemo. You know, the Geneva Convention prohibits or abolished mustard gas. You ever heard about mustard gas? Mustard gas is a poison. Chemo is mustard gas. It's a poison. You know what, you ever heard that word, Qatar? What does it mean? Inflammation, mucus. And we're filled with, every disease starts with this. Every disease. The generation of the eyes, everything starts in this thing. It's mucus. Okay, the result. Cataract. Cataract of the stomach is called what? Cataract of the mouth, stomatitis. Cataract of the throat is called diphtheritis. Cataract of the nose is called what? Rhinitis. Okay. Cataract of the bronchial tube is called what? Okay, fever, asthma, etc. Cataract of the lungs, phlebitis, influenza. Okay, cataract of the eye. Cataract of the ear. Cataract of the brain. Okay. Cataract of the small intestine. Cataract of the large intestine. Cataract of the appendix. Cataract of the liver. Cataract of the pancreas. Cataract of the kidneys. Cataract of the vagina. Okay. Cataract of the uterus. Cataract of the prostate. Okay. Cataract of the joint. Cataract of the veins. Cataract of the arteries. Cataract of the heart. Carditis. Okay. And so we are. It's inflammation of the body. We need to clean up this. How many of you fast at least once a week? You don't eat anything for 24 hours. What the sister say, you ain't gonna kill me? The body needs to rest. We take in too much food. Most of us are paper pushers. We don't work in the fields like our great-grandfathers and so on. So we don't need 3 meals a day. That's habit. And so most of it becomes toxins. And we can't let it out because if you eat 3 times a day, you should have 3 bowel movements the next day. Some of us go for days and not have a bowel movement. Where is all that backup goes? It poisons the system. And when you go to the bathroom, let me give you all a little lesson here. Put something about 6 inches under your foot to bring up your hips. Because the way you were supposed to go to the bathroom, it's like if you're in the field and you just stoop. Your knees is higher than your rectum. But when you sit in the toilet, everything is level. And you're forcing, that's why we get all of the hemorrhoids and so on. Because we are forcing, but if you get the foot up, everything comes out smooth. Try it tonight. You're going to call me tomorrow and say, Dr. Morgan, a matter of fact, tomorrow, Pastor, give them the opportunity to testify in church. Yes. There is so many different things like that because people come into my office because we do colonics. And so we, clean that system out. But if you get the foot up, it'll save your life. And we won't be as mean. There are 2 things that makes people mean. Corns and constipation. If I was the pastor, I would have downstairs a colonic machine. Because a lot of people that's mean in the church, a lot of us that are Christians that are mean, we got corn or we constipated. Ain't the devil. Okay, according to the latest medical statistic, according to the disease the Center of Disease Control. Last year, 30,000 Americans died of AIDS. Last year. I'm not talking about when it was rampant, just last year. Prostate killed 35,000 men, prostate cancer. Breast cancer killed 29,000 women. Colorectal cancer killed, uterine cancer killed 35,000 women. Lung cancer killed 100,000 of our men and women last year. Colorectal cancer killed 40% or 400% more American men and women than does AIDS. 90% of our American men and women will develop colon polyps by the time they are 40. And I think most of us in here are over 40. As a matter of fact, I think all of us are. Even me. I was 42 yesterday. Yesterday was my birthday. Yeah, my daughter is 47, so I'm, 3 years older than she is? Younger than she is? Yeah. 50% of those of us in this group either have or will develop polyps in the next 5 years. Diverticulitis, herniated bowel pockets of the cause of constipation, old waste matter that's in the colon. 500,000 Americans, those of us in here, are on dialysis machines. 24,000 died of kidney and bladder cancer last year. Look at this. 5 million American men are infertile. Look at this. 400 American men suffer from one of these diseases: impotency, low sperm count, erectile dysfunction, low libido, low sexual drive, benign prostate problems, prostate cancer, male menopause, it's called andropause. Many of us are pretending to be Superman in public. But behind those closed doors, we are living a life of Mission Impossible. I'm going to go out of this because these are some of the things that we have. These are for women. Women's health, balance in hormones, cool flare. You know, that's when you open up the window in the middle of winter. And the poor brother is freezing. Yeah, so we got cool flare, cools it down. Mental peace, that balances the hormones and so on. So we got a lot of stuff here. And women's stamina. American lifestyle. These are all the stuff. Let me go get out of here a little bit. We eat food low in nutrition, high in sugar. The worst thing that causes a lot of diseases and causes the immune system to go down is sugar. Sugar, the worst thing that was ever developed. It causes so much things in the body. Sugar is the worst thing you can use. If you have to use something, you get a monk fruit. You know what the monk fruit is? You can buy that, the monk fruit. This is a monk fruit. It looked like a kiwi. This is the actual monk fruit. I know it's tough. It's a hard something. Looks like a kiwi. And if we're baking something, we use the monk fruit. We break it up, boil this, just break it up, wash it on the outside, break it up, and it's sweeter than sugar, but the body does not recognize it as sugar. The body recognizes honey as sugar and all the other sweeteners, but not the monk fruit. You can buy it no, I don't usually sell them because I get them like this. But if you get it, you get it in the powdered form. If you get it in Amazon or something like that. It's the same thing.
Monk, M-O-N-K?
Yeah. Monk fruit. Okay, it's a good something. Why am I holding on to this? Okay. So, we consume 316 ounce soft drinks, 170 pounds of white refined sugar, candy bars, and 500 what? Donut. And we're not even police officers. We eat 12, in our lifetime, we eat 12 whole cows, a total of 3,000 pounds whole pigs. In our lifetime, we eat 3,000 chickens and other birds. In our lifetime. Especially those of you get the Chinese Mac attack. And you're always going in there to buy things. And all the Caribbean restaurants, the chicken is the selling thing in the chicken. Most popular thing. And they're filled with chemicals, those chickens. Let me go out of here. I think it's just too much. We exercise very little. We don't exercise. We suffer from high cholesterol with the average of 225 and having high blood pressure. So we need to do something about that. There's a lot of stuff you can use. I have a lot of stuff for high cholesterol and other things, so you don't get heart diseases, and so on. Look at this. Okay, why is it stuck? Okay, our entire body can be rebuilt in less than 2 years. 98% in less than 1 year. A new brain in 1 year we can have. If we eat properly and start thinking properly and do it, the body good. New blood in 4 months. New skeleton, guess what? 3 months. Strengthen our DNA in 2 months. We can do that. New liver in 9 weeks. But you have to eat alkaline foods. Look up alkaline diets and alkaline food and Google.
So why is this thing so undercover? Like, why do we know everything else and so little about this?
Certain amount of us has to die. Is that like those of you that are nurses, you know in each hospital there's certain flows that you go on and you don't come back. You don't know about that, but it is true. And the nurses know that. Doctors know that. So if they tell you about that floor, you go kicking. No. Yeah, because they have to. Our world could not sustain all of us if we weren't dying off. So a certain amount of people have to. The AIDS crisis was one of those things. The COVID was one of those things. But those were the big things. And especially those of us that are on the poorer class. They don't need us. We're scavengers.
So you're saying they could bring more to reverse?
Oh yeah, if they wanted to. But where our world going, nobody cares about us anymore. You see about in the voting and so on. And you know a lot of the rights that you pastors especially, fought for in during the civil rights. I remember those days. I remember as a child, people marching and so on for the civil rights during the 60s. As a child, I remember that. And the gains that were made are being taken away one by one. I remember when I first went to Ohio State, Columbus, Ohio. And I grew up in Vermont, where there was no There was only 250 people in my hometown in Vermont. And where I grew up, when I went to Columbus, Ohio to graduate school, they still had those signs out there that says white only, colors only. I don't remember when they were removed, but during the 2 years I was in grad school there, at the end of that, they were gone. But I remember those days. You know, so, and a lot of those rights that we gained are gone from us. You know, so they don't care about us. So we have to care about ourselves. Let me say this to you also. If you get ill, you need to be eating the food from where you grew up. If you're from South Carolina, I don't want you eating food from Georgia, from the ground, from the soil. You need to eat the food from the soil where you were weaned, when you were a little child. If you're from Jamaica, eat the foods from Jamaica, especially that hometown that you grew up in. It does the body good. If you're from Trinidad, and so on. Because it's in your system. Your mother, when she was carrying you, she ate those things, you know, and so on. So we need to do that. I eat the food from Brooklyn. No, we don't. But I try to eat healthy. I do a lot of plant-based. Go ahead.
I have two questions. You touched a while ago that chicken is not good for us. What would be a substitute that chicken that we get?
Okay. For instance, during Thanksgiving, I eat turkey. It looks like turkey. And it tastes like turkey, but it's not. It's other vegetables that we put together that so you could put a lot of things. It's just like the vegan or the vegetarian, especially the vegan, eats things that they don't forget about that. But if you eat chicken, make sure it's free range. Don't eat that stuff with all that chemicals in it. You know, try to get free range. The problem is with free range, most of us can't afford it.
Okay, my other question is, what book would you recommend in terms of food to eat to help our bodies combat some of these diseases?
Well, of course,
That one?
this one. But there are some good cookbooks out there. There are some good cookbooks out there. I bought a book. I was at the airport in Jamaica. I was changing planes. And there was a cookbook that I bought. It was a Rastafarian gentleman that wrote the book. And the food that he put together, the earth food that he grew and ate, when I started cooking some, and I don't know how to cook really, but I stir fry some of those things, and it was so good. I felt energetic and so on. So you can get some good vegetables and so on. The strange thing is, I was in a restaurant, and I went into this restaurant, and I asked the lady. I says, "Could I have some of the vegetables over there?" She said, "Well, we don't sell vegetables there." And I said, there. She said, "That's not vegetables." I forgot what she told me it was. But in Jamaica, you don't, she said, "Oh, we don't call it vegetables like that. Vegetables look like, that's it, you know." But they had some cabbage that was cut up. I forgot what it was called, what she called it. No, it wasn't callaloo. She called it something. Huh? No, it wasn't bok choy. Bok choy is a vegetable itself, but instead of vegetables, like when we go into a store here, provisions. She said, "That's provisions." I said, "Provisions is vegetables. Vegetables is food, too." See, and so that was it. So there's a brother in the store. He said, "Brother, leave it alone." But it is. The chopped up cabbage, But to me, the cabbage is vegetables. But she said, no, it's a provision. You see, yeah, provision means providing. See? So that's it. But you could put a lot of provision together and make a meal. You know? But we are accustomed eating a lot of the meats and so on that's killing our body, especially the stuff that we eat. So that's that. And let me ask you, any questions here?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you speak a little about mitochondrial decline?
Say that one more time. One more time.
Okay. Can you speak about mitochondrial decline?
Okay. Yeah, that's like Alzheimer's and that kind of stuff, you know, all that thing. I think we need to drink more things that's gonna stimulate the brain and do more things in those areas, and you know, get the whole mitochondrial system together. There's special things that we have. I have a pail here with a whole batch of my my formulas like this, for instance, that has for every disease there is. Well, every one of them are different. This is, for instance, the lungs. These two things, when people were getting COVID and getting really sick, this and this, these two I was given them to build the immune system with this one. This is echinacea formula, not just pure echinacea. It's about 12 different herbs in here that builds the immune system, and this one strengthens the lungs. See, so each of the ones I have, they look alike, but the names are different because they're for different diseases, different ailments. So it's not just one thing that fits all.
Do you have anything for rats, endocrine?
Yeah, we have something for that. I don't have it here with me, but I do have something in the office for that. If we don't, we'll put it together for you. Okay? No. Because natural stuff, let me say this with you. Anything that you can buy over the counter, these are called pharmaceutical grade, which means it has to come from my hands to yours, or you need a prescription. You follow me? Yeah. I can't take my line of stuff and put them in the store and ask them to sell it for me. The FDA is going to come after me because these are so strong. The herbs that you buy in the store have fillers, so they can sell them over the counter because they're weaker. But anything that is very strong, that is pure, they can't sell it over the counter. Amazon can't sell those. Anything that's really strong. And half of these things you see they're advertising in the store, they give you a long video. They don't do any good, except for the person who manufactured it. So here are these things. There's a hand over there. Okay, go ahead, please. Probiotic is wonderful. But if you use probiotics, you have to use prebiotic with it. Not just the pure probiotic. For probiotic, we all need probiotics. And you can't use anything less than 8 billion units. Otherwise, because the gut bacteria eats it up. Right. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. But you can get a good filter, a good one, a good filter that takes out, it won't take out all of them, but it will take out at least 80% of the toxic stuff of the water. Or you can use reverse osmosis water. You know, or like a distilled water, but don't use distilled water all the time because it will bleach out everything out the body. But if you're trying to cleanse your body, so if for a week you're taking something to detox the body, use distilled water. Distilled water is 100% H2O. It has no minerals in it. So if you made tea with tap water or bottled water, and you use distilled water, the distilled water will be much stronger because it pulls all of the nutrients out of the tea. When the bottled water or the tap water has minerals in it, so it could only take but so much. So use distilled water. Use distilled water at least 2 days a week. And always drink up like a gallon of water a day. A gallon.
So we should stop drinking any kind of water from plastic.
I think you can buy it in the, you know, they sell the big 5-gallon, the bottle, the glass bottle. The glass big one is like what they have some of the, on your job sometimes. Now they're getting the big plastic ones, but those are better. The only problem is you don't have this stored it in their in a plastic before. You know, it's like when I go to the Caribbean, they have water there that they get from the tanks. The water falls from the roof and get in the tanks. But then they have the tanks of plastic. You know, and most, you know, so that's the problem. When you boil the water, it's good because it kills bacteria. But say if there's chemicals in it, lead, there's less water and the same amount of chemical, so it's stronger. It puts more chemicals in your body because say you have 1 ounce of chemical and you have a gallon of water. You have chemicals there. But when you water it down to say a cup, you still have 1 ounce of chemical and you put it in so it's concentrated. Yeah. So, but do that and put a lemon or a lime in your water every time you drink water.
So what about water bottles? You know, those Nextable?
Yeah, those are good. Those are good. Those are good. But just don't heat them up. I don't freeze them. Right. Okay. So look up, let me say this. Look up nightshade vegetables. Please. Nightshade up there on the screen. Nightshade is because it's not real. Nightshade is where they took a chemical to make that particular thing. So the potatoes that you eat, the white potatoes that you eat today, is not the same white potato they had 25, 30 years ago. They've been injected with things, so they call nightshade. Okay? Bell peppers and all these things. Okay, let me see. Nightshade. These are nightshade vegetables. But potatoes are no good for us. White potatoes are no good for us anyhow, especially if you're diabetes or pro-diabetes. The worst thing that you can eat, the very worst thing you can eat is potatoes, white potatoes in any form. French fries. Because it shoots your blood sugar up right away. You know, so don't eat white potatoes if you have pre-diabetes or hybrids. Hybrids is the other one where they graft in 2 different fruits or vegetables. Yeah, like they used to call them prune, they call them hybrids now. It's called crossbreeding. And so you think you're eating an apple. It's an apple and a pear or something like that together. You know, so that's why they don't taste the same as when you were a kid, when I was a kid. And I was a kid 100 years ago. Corn, carrots, a whole batch of melon, cucumbers. Any cucumber or stuff that you bought in the store in this Chinese market are hybrids. Carrots, hybrids. Look at this. A cross between a blackberry and a raspberry. Triberry. And they do call them triberries. You know. Now, we don't know because God didn't design that. He designed the raspberry by itself to do one thing to the body, and the strawberry to do another thing to the body. Strawberry is a wonderful thing for the prostate. When you put them together, only God knows. Leaky gut syndrome. I would say all of us in here have leaky gut syndrome because of the stuff we eat. Leaky gut syndrome. Look that up, please. Or you can look in my book, that blue book I have there, Leaky Gut Syndrome. Well, it has a variety of different symptoms. So I tell you, look it up, and it'll tell you. But it's the start of any disease that you have. Any disease that you have, whether it's high blood pressure or whatever, it starts here where the stomach lining becomes inflamed. And like in your house, you have windows. How many of you have windows in your house? All of us, right? Okay. In the windows, you have a screen. So it lets, in the summer, it lets the air in and sometimes a nice breeze. Maybe some dust, but it doesn't allow the rodents and the leaves and so on to come in. But the stomach has a mesh like that, just like the skin. And when you eat something, it allows what's supposed to go to the brain to go to the brain, what goes to the heart to go to the heart, the enzymes and so on. But when you have leaky gut, everything goes in because the mesh is larger. So it lets in all the toxins. Instead of the toxins going into the bowels and you let it out, or the bladder, it goes into the bloodstream. So that's one of the problems we have.
What's the best way to get rid of inflammation?
One of the things is to take curcumin, which is a derivative of turmeric. But the part of the turmeric that's medical is the cumin. So they took the cumin out. See, a lot of these stuff is good for us. But what they've done to make money is they took, like an orange, for instance. You can eat 20 oranges and go to the bathroom to urinate, and your urine will be clear like water. But if you took some vitamin C, guess what? It's yellow. The reason why is because they took the vitamin C out of the orange and sell it separate to make more money. And the body sees it as a toxin. So that's why it's so yellow. You know, so if you can get an orange, but the orange you use, guess what? It's not a real orange anymore. Okay, but you got to eat the stuff, but make sure that you do intermittent fasting, or you fast 1 or 2 days a week, so that all the stuff comes out of you, and make sure you're taking enough water to flush the stuff out, and do some a couple times a year, please, do a detox. Yes, sir. And you cannot do those detoxes that they sell in the store where you eat and you take in some herbs in order for the body to detox itself, it has to be at rest. So you have to fast. That's why when God designed the body, what he did is this. At night, when you're sleeping, like a self-defrost refrigerator, the body purifies itself. The fact is that we eat just before we go to bed, and all night long the body is working, so it doesn't get the opportunity to detox itself. But you need 4 days of fasting. So you give yourself that, and you take something like this as a total body detox, and you could get something else, but you need 4 days to the body to be at rest, and so you're taking things out that's going to clean the body out. Otherwise, you see us with the large stomachs. We're always gassy. We have headaches. We have a whole batch of different things because we don't clean the body. We need to be able to clean the system. And so one of the things I have for 4 days is something like this. It's called a total body detox and so on. And I talked to you about my perfect food, which is a lot of different vegetables and so on. And I grow my stuff in a country called Swaziland, where the soil, they're not allowed to use any kind of chemicals in the soil. So I have 300 acres of property that I grow all my different herbs. And we use 150 acres this year. We let the other 150 rest. Next year we use that, and we let this 150 rest and so on. So this is really good something. Okay, it's a powder, and you mix it with water or your favorite juice, and it does its thing. We have liver detox, a liver cleanse. We have kidney cleanse, and so on. Those type of things. I want to demonstrate something for you, the time that I have left. Let me just share this with you, if you don't mind. How many of you know that water is live? It's a living something. So you can insult water. You can do a lot of things with different things with water, because water is the most real thing we can put into the body. It has so much stuff to it. Now, I did a 2-year experiment with water. I saw something when I was going to school in Shanghai, and I replicated it at home. What I did, I took, those big pickle jars? I took 2 or 3 of those, and I filled them up with water, and I put them like in a kitchen counter thing, which I didn't open for like 2 years. So one of them, every morning, I would go downstairs, and I would take the bottle, and I would hold it close to me, and I would tell it beautiful things. I would talk to it. And I would say, how much I love you, and really make love to this thing, talk good to it. And I noticed after about 6 weeks or so, the water was getting clearer than when I got it out the tap. It was getting clearer and clearer. After 2 years, it was like this, crystal clear. After 2 years. One of them, I left alone. For 2 years, I didn't see it. I didn't open up the cabinet. Just left it alone. And after 2 years, I looked at it, and it was cloudy like this. I just left it. I ignored it. And the other one, y'all got to forgive me. I cursed it. I call it all kind of names. I mean, stuff that wasn't in the Bible. I just call it a lot of different things. I kept it far from me, and I tell how lousy and how disappointed I was of it and so on. And what happened, I noticed that it was getting darker and darker and darker. And then lumps and stuff starts growing inside of it. And it reminds me of us. It reminds me of us that a lot of us don't get the love that we need from ourselves or the people around us. And so one of the things that begin to happen is that we begin to be like this. Sickness comes all over the body. Because we allow anything and everyone to talk to us and deal with us the way they want to. And we end up very sick and so on. Because we buy into their belief system. And some of us are just quiet people. You know, we're just there. And we're just left alone. We don't bother anybody. Nobody bothers us. We're just existing. And we're like this. And then some of us that are getting the stimuli, the emotional love that we need, and so on. And we become vibrant people. Vibrant and lovely and so on. And you know, what I got from this is that you don't have to take what people tell you about yourself. Let me share something personal with you. I was sharing this with a friend of mine the other day, and I grew up a foster kid. My dad was a jazz musician. My mom was also. My mom was 20 years. My dad was 21. And they were studio musicians, and they were going to the studio to play behind a lady. You ever heard Pearl Bailey? She was making a record, and they were in the band, and they were heading to the studio in Manhattan to play on her record, and there was a car accident. And my mother, of the 5 people in the van, she was sitting in the hump, in the back seat, the middle seat, and she was the only one who survived. I was 3 months old, and my dad passed in that particular thing. And my mother never played another piano after that. And my mother kind of just withdrew. And I end up in the system as a little child, maybe 6 months or so. And my dad's best friend, because my dad was from the South Carolina, and my dad's best friend heard that I was in the system and came up and got me and raised me. And kept my dad's name. They were really good friends. And my dad played the bass fiddle. And it's so strange because I turned out okay because of the stimuli that I got from my parents that raised me. I met my birth mother when I was 15. I was headed to Cornell for my freshman year. And my mother, where I grew up in Vermont, my mom put in my pocket my birth mother's address. And she said, if you ever want to get in touch with her, do so. And this is it. So I got to the Port Authority in Manhattan. And I had reached into my pocket, and I knew my mother's name, my birth mother's name, but I had never met her. I'm 15 now, and I asked this gentleman, I says, how do I get to McDonald Street in Brooklyn? He said, well, you take the A train, and you get off at Howard Avenue. And I did so. I had one of those big trunks. And back in the day, they had those big trunks with the silver things at each end, and they were heavy. And I dragged it to Brooklyn, and I got when I got to Howard Avenue, they were the highest stairs I ever seen. And I dragged that thing up the stairs, end up at McDonald Street. I rang the bell, and this lovely lady, beautiful lady, came, and she says, yes, can I help you? And I says, well, you know, I'm looking for Miss Douglas. And she says, that's me. And she says, how can I help you? And I says, my name was Raphael Morgan. And she turned white, because that was my mom. And she says, what are you doing here? I said, my mom gave me your number, your address, and I came to meet you, to see you. And she didn't want to let me in, like. And her neighbor downstairs came out, and she said, let the boy in. And she took me out, so she made a tuna sandwich for me. I'm sitting there eating it. And I met a brother I had that I never knew, and a sister that she had had from another marriage. And I was just taken back by those two little people. Anyhow, she was there, and she started talking about my mom in Vermont. And my mom in Vermont is Caucasian. And my dad in Vermont was Caucasian. So she kept talking about these white people, and they stole her kid from her and stuff like that, which wasn't so. And so I said, well, you don't even know them. I'm 50 now. And to her, I was talking back to her. So she was washing the dishes that I had just ate the plate, and like a frisbee, pow, hit me right here in my mouth. This cut right here. So they took me to the hospital, and on Bushwick Avenue, that hospital is no longer a hospital, but the building is still there. And they said, tell them that you walked into the door, the neighbor downstairs. So when the doctor asked me, they were stitching it up, she said, what happened? I said, I walked into the door. So after they stitched me up, by the time my jaw was like that, they put me in a cab, and I got back to the Port Authority, and I went up to the school. And I never got in touch with her again until after graduation from graduate school now. This is 6 years later. And I invited her to my graduation thing, and she never came. As a matter of fact, I sent her a bus ticket to come to Columbus, Ohio State, and she never came. But the background of the story is that my mother, the last 30 years of her life, I had to take care of her, and we had this kind of strange relationship. And I tell that story to tell you that I remember people saying to me that, that you would never be anything, and you would never this, and you never the other. And I could have bought into those things if it wasn't for my folks that, that put things into me. So be careful, Don't ever let anyone become, whatever they say to you, become your reality. Because sickness and a whole batch of things, a lot of mental illness and so on, happens to you. Let me share this. The lady that was my first foster mother, about a year ago, came to my office. And I didn't know it was her until I read on the thing that she had filled out, her name. And I always remember that name. And I says, Miss Phillip, I says, do my name mean anything to you? She says, no. I says, did you ever live on McDonald Street? She says, yeah. She said, my pastor told me that you are a prophet. I said, no, I'm not a prophet, and this has nothing to do with that. I think you are my first foster mother on McDonald Street. And the first thing that she said to me, son, did I hurt you? And I says, no, I'm okay. But on my back right here, I have a little discoloration from hot candle wax that she dropped on my thing. And I remember she used to tie me up to the radiator. And she says, well, I guess you're not going to take care of me. I said, I'm committed to taking care of you. And I helped her through her ailment. She was 92, and I helped her through her ailment. But this person, and she says, I used to be a junkie until about 20 years ago, I met the Lord. She said, I hurt a lot of kids because I took them in only for the money. I was one of them. So you don't have to be bitter because of what happened to you and so on. Find the why for you being. And I think sometimes when we do that, the healing starts. Because you know who you are. You know who you are. And every day, find a time to do something good for somebody. Okay? Now, if you all have diabetes, pre-diabetes, any of those type of things, get it under control. Get some moringa, some Germanian sylvester, herbs. You can get it from me or you can get it somewhere else. And take that. Yeah, I have those also. And take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. If you need help, I'm there. You can get in touch with Bishop. And again, my condolences to you, to those of you here, your pastor. And it's been a pleasure teaching you today. God bless you.
Wow. Bless you, Doctor. Now, he says that when I come down here, we don't talk about certain things. So next time I come, we will start talking about some things. Right, we set that up. But we always talk about things. And, I think the number for 20 years or more. But, did you enjoy your presentation today? Counselor, thank you for coming. And, and when I'm going to let you go, the program is just over. So I'm not going to speak or anything. Sister Christy will do your greetings tomorrow. Praise the Lord. And I thought about us. I really got away a long time ago. But for some reason, and please don't stone me, people of our country don't like to talk about wills and trust. For some reason. And I was thinking about the program as I would preach. And Sunday, but we still got to live. And there are too many of our people who lose what they worked so hard for because they did not take care of business. Bless you all. Bless you, Dr. Morgan. Dr. Polster, thank you. Appreciate it. We understand. We'll let you go. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. You need to come tomorrow. When you come tomorrow to the convention, bring yourself a wave cloth. You hear what I say? Bring a wave cloth because we're going to dance, we're going to shout. We were locked up for 3 years. Couldn't have a convention for about 2 or 3 years also. We didn't have any church. Church online. It is great. It was good. But you know what my problem is? I'm a Pentecostal preacher. And when I sit there and preaching and Zoom and the Spirit is flowing, I want to get up and I want to move. I say, you can't do that. But thank God that we're still here. We've got to stay the course. Blessed be the name of Jesus. Father, in the name of Jesus, we honor you. We adore you. We magnify your name. Because you're he could not do it. Because we're covered under your blood. Your blood will see us through. And as we depart from this place, I pray in the name of Jesus that you'll take everyone that is here and tonight safely to their separate homes of abode. Devil, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke and I destroy every negative plans that you have upon God's children. And tonight, you are already defeated. You was defeated in the Garden of Eden. You was defeated when Jesus was crucified. And you are defeated, and you will be defeated forever and ever. To God be the glory. Let the church say. Let the church say.
Greetings, everybody. I have a quick announcement, especially for all of our ministers and pastors in the house. I took the liberty of bringing all of my stuff that you didn't get through the conference, forms, updates, things to update your IDs, things to update your licenses, anything that you have that might be out of date. So if you are a minister, if you are a lay minister, if you are a pastor and you haven't already seen me, this is a good time to do so because it's just easier to come right here and I got everything with me. Those of you